Are you ready to unlock your full potential? Motivational speaker, the comeback coach, and goal crusher Joe Rivera brings you inspiring leaders, incredible stories, and valuable lessons on how you can change, grow, and reforge your life. Now, here's your host, Joe Rivera.
What's up? What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Reforge Your Life Show. I'm your host, Joe Rivera, and here at the Reforge Your Life Show, we like to show you that the comeback is more than possible. And today, I'm super excited about the guest I'm bringing to the show. He's an ex-NFL ball player. He's a life strategist, coach. He's the head coach of Rise Up Kings, my man Mondo Davis. Welcome to the show, brother.
Let's go. Joe, I'm so honored to be here, brother. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm looking forward to everything that's going to happen. And more importantly, I'm looking forward to us reconnecting. So good to see you, brother.
Yeah, great to see you too, man. I remember when we connected and I knew there was synergy, and I'm glad that we're able to bring that synergy here to this platform and work together. And man, I heard your story, brother, but I can't tell it anywhere as close, as good as you can. Nobody can. And I'd love for you to share your story with the audience and let them know a little bit more about you.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much. Yeah, it was a pleasure meeting you at the Great American Speak Off, and we had a really good time out there. And my story that I shared is in regards to just the life that I experienced and how God transformed my life. And now I get the opportunity to do the same thing for others. So it started off with me being the oldest of three boys. My dad served in the military for 20 years. My mom was a maximum security correctional officer. My dad's about 6'2", 250. Mom's about 5'2", all pit bull. You know what I'm saying? So it's like everybody was afraid of mom in the house. You know, all of us as men are over 6 feet, but nobody messed with moms. Like moms, she held it down. And by the way, she was maximum security correctional officer in an all-male prison, so she doesn't play. Woo! So we grew up in a really, really strong, like disciplinarian household. And at the same time, my parents were some of the most encouraging, supportive people that I've ever met. And it led to them really challenging us to think big and look at dreams and how we want to make an impact on this world and leave it a better place than we found it. So, you know, I was an athlete growing up, man. I played every sport you can think of: basketball, football, track, wrestling, like you name it, baseball. I was in it. And I had a dream to go to the NBA. And I came to a point when I realized pretty early on that I wasn't NBA material and I probably wasn't going to be the height of an NBA player. So I remember at 14, I was hanging out with my buddy Reggie Nash. And Reggie, he's really athletic, man. Looked up to him, was like, this guy's amazing. And he jumped up one day and he was showing how high he can jump. He grabbed the rim. And he was like, hey, man, what you got? He kind of gave me the look. So I went and I did it too, but I had a ring on. And when I jumped up and grabbed that rim, boom, man, like pulled my finger completely off, like ripped it off. And you probably didn't even know that, Joe. But yeah, finger's gone. Now I'm like, oh, snap. What's going to happen to my basketball shot? What's going to happen to the way I'm going to the hole and I'm able to shoot and dribble? So, man, I'm getting laughed at the next day in school. And, you know, I'm going to reach for my syrup, you know, as I'm eating breakfast. And I realize my finger's gone. I'm in pain. So it was adversity, right? And all of us experience adversity in life.
Yes.
So I realized at this moment I had to pivot. So one of my coaches in college said, I can guarantee there's one thing you will experience during this game, and that is adversity. And how you handle that adversity will determine whether or not you win or lose. And every week he would say this to us. So I experienced adversity and I realized, okay, my shot is not as good. I'm not as good of a basketball player as I should be to go to the next level. So I need to pivot. So I took those lemons and I made lemonade. And I started playing football. And then it just started rising to the top, man. But even then, there was still adversity showing up for me. So when you think about my freshman year in high school, guess how many games we won, Joe?
How many did you win?
0.
Sure.
My sophomore year, guess how many games we win in football?
Don't tell me 0 again.
0, bro. So I'm going to go into the third year now, right? So check this out. This is a true story. Woodside High School, Newport News, Virginia. It was a brand new high school. And I got this dream now to go play NFL football. And the dream was birthed out of a place where I gave my life to Christ at 16. And I was so excited about my salvation. I said, God, I want to give a gift back to you. And I'm going to use my athleticism to go to the league. So now I'm fired up. We go into my junior year because I want to use that platform in the NFL to glorify God. Guess how many games we win?
Tell me.
How many do you think?
You at least won 1, right?
0. 0, bro. We are like 0-30 now. 0-30. So I'm like, dude, this is crazy. So I'm ready to quit. We got beat by Hampton High School 88-0.
Woo!
88-0.
Yeah.
Ronald Curry put up, he was a monster. He's a man amongst boys, like 6'2", 220 pounds in high school as a senior. And he put up 88 points against us. I was ready to quit. One of the guys quit. He literally walked out of the stadium, kicked his helmet on the way out. I get home, and I tell my mom, I'm done with football. Forget this whole dream to go to the NFL. She's like, hey, I want you to go look in the mirror, and I want you to ask yourself, did you give everything? Did you give all of yourself? So I go and I look in the mirror. I ask the question. I'm like, oh, this is dumb. Like, why am I doing this? And, man, it was like I just had this moment where it was like God was looking down at my soul with a flashlight, and I couldn't find any part of me that didn't give all of myself. I came back out. I told her, and she was like, okay, cool. I advise you not to quit. I know y'all haven't won any games in the last 3 years, but if you want to go to college and get a scholarship and go to the league, keep showing up and it'll work out for you. Well, fast forward, guess how many games we won in my senior year of high school?
2.
4.
All right.
4 games. And it's like,
Improvement.
okay, we won 4 games, right? So now I get a duffel bag filled with letters out of nowhere, coming from a losing school, losing 30 games in a row. The average person would have quit a long time ago and said, forget this. And now I got this duffel bag filled with letters from all over the country. And I wound up with a full scholarship to the University of Delaware. I graduate in 3 years. We win the national championship 40-0. Then I get my master's degree, and then I get picked up by the New York Jets as an undrafted free agent. Now I'm in the Jets stadium. I'll never forget, man, going into the stadium. It's like I've been working for this for 10 years, right? Blood, sweat, tears, injuries, overcoming obstacles, overcoming adversity. And now the moment has come. And we step in that stadium, my first game against the Detroit Lions, and I'll never forget it, man. Herman Edwards put me in, and I go out to the flats. The ball's thrown to the running back. I'm playing linebacker, and I'm going to make the tackle, and the ball bounces off this guy's face mask. I run right underneath him. Boop. I catch that football, and I'm running back for an interception. And then I step out of bounds. I didn't care. I threw the ball up. I was like, yeah. And me and my teammates are celebrating. Coach Herman Edwards says, hey, next week you're starting against the Vikings. Come back out on the opening play of the game, Joe. And I'm running down on kickoff, and I hit the wedge. And boom, everything goes black. And they say, Mondo, they took me to the training room and said, good news and bad news. Which one do you want first? I said, give me the bad news. Bad news is you tore your ACL up so bad, it's going to be at least 18 months recovery before you step back on the field. I said, well, what could possibly be good news after that? They said, the good news is we still want you to be a New York Jet. So that began the rehab process. And then I felt like the enemy had his foot on my neck as I watched my dream just go down the drain, and there was nothing I could do about it. So at that point, there was another man who saw something in me. And after 3.5 years of pro football, he said, come with me and let me mentor you. Let me show you. And I wound up going to 30 countries around the world being trained by this evangelist in coaching and speaking and pastoring and mentorship. And that began my career as a coach and pastor and speaker. And after that season ended, I stepped into some other consulting. I did some things in the health and wellness space. But now it ultimately led to me being in a place where now I coach men and I help men to step into the fullness of who they're called to be so they can show up and be good husbands, they can be good fathers, and ultimately lead this world a better place than they found it.
Man, I love that, brother. That is awesome what you're doing out there in the world. And there's a lot to unpack in that story. I mean, first off, so you tear your ACL of something that you thought in that moment was your purpose, was what you were meant to do, what God called you to do. And then the injury happens and they tell you it's going to take 18 months. What happened after that 18-month time frame? Did you ever go back? And what did that look like?
Yeah, so I did, and I got moved to safety. Never played safety a day in my life up until that moment in the league, and I was competing against the top safeties in the world. So I made it all the way through training camp, and then I got injured again. So I was running down on a pass. I was going to make a tackle on the pass. The ball was passed, and then I was breaking on it. And then a pylon was literally right there on the field, and I literally stepped on the pylon and just twisted my ankle really bad. It was nasty. And I always taped up my ankles and made sure I did, things to be safe. But dude, it was just a nasty sprain. And I heard that if you break your ankle, it's better than a really nasty sprain. So I had a really nasty sprain, and it was still taped up. I continued to practice through the pain. And then as soon as we got in the locker room, it's called a spat. And that's when you tape up you have your cleat on, you have your sock on underneath your cleat. but then you tape the outside. And some of y'all may have seen guys on the field where the outside is taped up. Well, I had a spat. That's called a spat. And then I cut the spat off, and then my ankle just did like this.
Oh,
It was like watching a water balloon fill up. And I was like, oh my God. Because
man.
I've been playing on it I heard it, and then I stayed on it for like another hour. And I didn't want to quit. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of pressure. It's like, I don't want to get cut. So when I cut that spat off, man, my ankle was like the size of my calf, and it was a really nasty. So that was a slow bleed for me transitioning out. Wound up getting released. I wound up going to Montreal. After that, I dressed for a game. When you're in the reserves, you can't get cut,
Yeah.
but once you step on the field, then they can cut you. So wound up getting released. And then I wound up dressing for the game, even though I wasn't 100%. I was probably like 30-40%, and went to Montreal, and I played with the Alouettes. It's the CFL, the Canadian Football League. And I was out there for a season. Didn't like it at all. It's a completely different game. In regular football, the field's 100 yards vertical, 52 yards sideline to sideline. In Montreal, it's 110 yards long, and it's 65 yards sideline to sideline.
Yeah.
And they get a running start on offense. So the wide receivers get a running start for like 10 yards, and then the ball snaps. So you're standing still waiting on these guys, and then they got a running start. So it's just a whole different game, a lot more field. I didn't like it. I didn't click with it. So that one season ended, and then I came back and I played arena football in Montana with the Montana Billings Outlaws in my third season. They wanted me to come back, and I was just like, these guys, you know what I mean? Like, we're not really making enough money to take care of a family. You know what I mean? Like, it's really for the sake of just saying I'm still a ball player, but I had bigger dreams than that, and I knew that God had more for me than just being a football player until I can like become debilitated and really can't do anything else. So I had other dreams in my heart, and I knew God had more for me. So they wanted me to come back the next year to be the captain of the team and make a career out of arena ball. I think that's great for the guys who do it, but it just wasn't the path for me. So I told him I wasn't coming back. My wife and I, we met at the University of Delaware. We dated all the way through college, got married when I first started with the Jets. So I was thinking about her, and at the time we had just had our first child. Now we've been together 22 years, married for 19, about to celebrate our anniversary coming up next week. But I was thinking about her, and I was like, man, if all the guys on the team had a full-time job that really wasn't paying them a lot because they had to do seasonal work to still play football, and then the football wasn't really paying the bills. So every guy on the team was either separated, divorced, or on the brink of divorce.
Wow.
And I thought to myself, if I stay on this road, that is going to be my future, because you are the amalgamation of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Right.
And if these are the guys I'm spending time with, then this is probably going to be the path for me. And that's not what I want. So I had to change my environment, and I was willing to let go of that career to do so.
Wow. Wow. I mean, man, congratulations on being able to walk away from something that you thought at one point was what you were meant to do. And well, let me take that back, because sometimes we get more than one purpose in life, right? So that was your purpose in that moment, and then God had other plans, right? Sometimes we have plans and God laughs at them, right? And and you walked away from a game that you loved for the woman that you love, and to make sure that your marriage stays on track. There's a lot of men who wouldn't be able to do that, man. So that speaks volume to your character, and congratulations on that move, brother. But I'm curious though, right? Because walking away from the game that you love, walking away from, you know, and maybe not even just walking away, but like your dreams getting shattered at one point because you thought, man, I'm in the NFL, I'm about to blow up, that whole vibe is there, and that vibe gets shot down. What did you go through emotionally and mentally in that time frame where things started kind of breaking apart on you?
Yeah, man, that's a really, really powerful. So I was flirting with depression, man. I was down. I was just like, what am I doing? I missed it. I failed. All those negative thoughts were like bombarding me and overwhelming me, right? So my wife was like, hey, like you gotta do something. There's more to you than just football. So I think any high performing elite athlete and or professional, you got guys like Navy SEALs, Green Berets, right? CEOs running companies. Like there's all kinds of industries where you have to operate at an elite level. And when that shifts, it can be really hard because it was my identity that got attached to it. So I allowed my identity to get wrapped up in my performance. And when we do that, it's very dangerous because now if that opportunity is no longer available or there's a shift in the marketplace and you're no longer this real estate investor that's crushing it, or, like 2008 when the housing market crash happened, or you're a stock investor and you're killing it, but the market shifts on you and you're not bringing in the money. So it's like if life turns on you and you face adversity, have you attached your identity to that to the point where that circumstance now dictates the outcome of your life? Or can you realize that you're like that bow and arrow, and every time that bow and arrow gets pulled back, it was designed to be pulled back. Because when it gets pulled back, that is an indication of the strength in which it's going to be propelled forward. So for me, I had to come to a place to realize through the support in the community, people that love me, it's like, man, you're not football. You're so much more than that. And I would encourage anybody that's listening to this right now, if you're in a season right now where you're walking through something and, it may be a divorce, it may be a challenge, a sickness, an ailment, that you're walking through, or caring for another loved one that's walking through that, or you may have just lost your job, whatever it is, that doesn't define you. And I had to come to the realization that my identity and my performance are two separate things. And when we allow them to be meshed together, now if your performance lacks, then you think you lack as well. But when you can separate your identity and your performance as two separate things, now my identity is solid because it's rooted in Christ.
Amen.
So I don't care what storms of life come. Like if I'm crushing it at a 10 out of 10, or if I'm a 3 or 4 in my performance, like it doesn't matter because I know who I am and whose I am. And when we can get rooted and grounded in knowing who we are and whose we are, there's going to be seasons where you're crushing it, and you can thank God for that. And then there's going to be seasons when you're learning, and those are moments of opportunity. So here's a new phrase that I just been chewing on, and I've just locked down in my heart and soul recently, and that is this: I never lose, Joe. I never lose. And anybody watching this, I don't care if you play a sport, I don't care if it's the money in the bank account, like whatever it is, you never lose. And if you'll adopt this mindset, it'll shift the way you show up, because there's only two options: it's to win or learn.
That's right. Love that.
So
man.
I redefined the L. It's W's, and the L is not a loss; it's a learning.
That's right. It's so important because that loss, there's always a learning lesson. It becomes a triple L, right? And when you learn from those losses, that's where the growth happens. I'm curious to know, because you mentioned something that's so important, separating the identity and the performance.
Yep.
And there's a lot of high performers who struggle with that. And that's where burnout happens. That's where overwhelm happens. That's where lack of direction starts happening and things become unmanageable and people start turning towards other vices or other ways of handling life. And you start getting depressed, right? So what was the shift that happened for you to be able to say, you know what, I got to separate these two, man, because my identity and my performance are separate. I'm going to always be true to who I am. I'm always going to be the person that God created me to be. Where did that aha moment come?
Yeah, so that came when I just remember being like in the bed thinking like, man, like what am I doing? Like what am I doing with my life? Like everything that I worked for, it didn't happen the way I thought it would. Like what's happening? And my brother-in-law came to me with a little piece of wood off of a tree. It was like a little piece of bark. And I'll never forget it. He gave it to me and he was like, Mondo, no matter what happens in life, no matter how high, no matter how low, don't ever lose your fire. And he handed me this little piece of wood off the tree. And I still have it. It's sitting right on my desk over there. And that was 20 years ago. And the moment hit me, Joe, when I realized that my performance in a role has nothing to do with my identity as a man. And the distinction was so clear because I realized that there's a difference between identity versus role. So I learned this in a mastermind that I'm in. And if you could rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, so anybody watching, I want you to even just think about this right now. if I were to tell you to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 regarding your identity, okay, and that means what you're rooted in, and then rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, believing, like in regards to how you're performing in your role, where would you rate yourself? So that's an exercise for you to do. Like, do you give yourself a 10, like you're crushing it, like you're at the optimal level of perfection? Or do you give yourself a 1, like yourself? Wherever you rated yourself on identity and then role, understand that if you rated yourself at a 10 or a 9 or an 8 in your role and you're killing it in your job, but when it comes to your identity and knowing who you are and having that peace within your own soul, you're like a 3 or 4. Even though you're crushing it on your job, your role will never outdo your identity. You'll never be able to perform past that level of where you are. But if your identity's at a 7, 8, 9, or a 10, and your role's down at a 3 or 4, maybe 5, you just started a new job, started a new business, whatever, guess what? You can always come up to this level when it comes to your identity. And the identity has to be rooted and grounded in something that doesn't move. So for me, that's Christ. It's rooted in the word because I know it's immovable, it's infallible. But for you, what is that for you? Right? And then your role will adjust. There's going to be highs and there's going to be lows. So there's this thing I learned in sales from Myron Golden. It's called SWSWSWN. And that means some will, some won't. So what next? So if we close a deal in business, awesome. Let's celebrate. I got the 5-second rule. That means I'm going to celebrate for like 5 seconds and then I'm going to get back to work because there's another opportunity waiting around the corner. And if we don't, we miss it. You missed the game-winning pass. You missed the game-winning shot. You don't close the deal in business, like you missed it with your spouse. Whatever it is, you got 5 seconds. Throw a fit. Do what you got to do. Get it out. And then it's time to recalibrate and start fresh. So when you understand who you are and whose you are and your identity is rooted and grounded in Christ, it shifts the way you navigate through life and handle the storms to where now you can dance in the rain instead of waiting for the storm to pass.
Man, that's so powerful and it's so real, man. I think the audience needs to really pay attention to the jewels that he just dropped there, because you could be successful in your business. You could have all the money and be killing it. But if your identity isn't right, if you're not being true to who you are, there's going to be an emptiness inside. You're never going to be able to really unlock your fullest potential when you're not raising the level on your identity. Because if you can't be true to who you are, how are you going to be true to your family? How are you going to be true to the people in your business? How are you going to have any true fulfillment if you're not being real with yourself and connecting with that higher source, right? I mean, you call it God, I call it God. Someone else might call it the infinite intelligence, the universe, whatever you believe. We're not here telling you what to believe, but connecting to that higher source is how you raise your identity, how you stay true to who you are. Because guess what? Your creator created you to be the best version of yourself, to be true to who yourself, to be true to yourself so you could go out there and be true to other people out there. And that's how you create impact. You ain't going to create impact unless you're being true to yourself. Man, that's powerful, bro. Thanks for sharing that, man. So, all right, you got to this point where your brother came to you and gave you the what was it again? He gave you?
It's just like a piece of tree bark.
A tree bark, right? Gave you the tree bark, and the tree bark is that moment, right? But at that point, I believe, you spoke about all these, limited beliefs that were popping up in your head, right? Of man, I'm not able to do this. I'm not good enough. And, on your victim role, because, you're going through your shit. And then you had that shift where you realize you're not a victim of your circumstances or conditions. They don't control you. You control your own destiny. So at that point, there's when we crack through that old belief system, there's a new belief system that's built. And there's also some core values that get uncovered and that we stay in alignment with to be able to, galvanize us to be able to overcome other challenges that come up in our life. Obviously, one for you is faith. So what are some of the other core values, some that you uncovered along that journey of cracking through that belief system?
100%, man. Family is number 2. And I mentioned earlier that my wife and I have been together 22 years. So college sweethearts from the University of Delaware. And she is the most important human being on this entire planet out of 8 billion other people to me. She is numero uno. So God is first and then her. And then after that, we have 11 children together. So all of my kids and being the best version of myself to show up for them and lead by example and, be an actively engaged father that's leading from the front to where I'm not just barking orders from the back, telling them what they should do or living in my heyday, but actually getting out there with them after school, going and working out in the mornings with them, you know, um, playing basketball with the kids, doing projects like leading by example and being actively engaged in their life. And then after that is fitness, right? Like making sure that I can show up with the right energy to show up for my family and to make that investment in myself on a daily basis with what I put in my mouth and the way I work out and do cardio so that I can show up for my family, so that I can show up with energy on this podcast with you, Joe. And I'm not distracted by, just a sedentary lifestyle. So after that is the finances, and that is making sure that I'm able to make an impact financially and be a real blessing to give and to leave the world a better place than I found it.
And
So yeah.
those are definitely some important core values. But I want the audience to pick up on the fact that he didn't say finances till the end, man. He mentioned his faith first. He mentioned his family. He mentioned taking care of himself at the gym, taking care of his body, his health, and then the finances. And it's so important to know that, listen, man, I've been broke. I've had a lot of money and I'll take having money over not having money any day of the week. But money don't buy you the happiness. Money helps you get the things you want in life. And it's definitely a good tool to have, but it won't buy you happiness. You got to have all your other shit in order. That's going to create that happiness in your life, man. Man, 11 kids, bro. You playing a lot of ball out there if you got 11 kids.
Yeah, bro. People ask all the time, man. You must really love kids. Yeah, man. I like kids, man. Absolutely, but I really love my wife. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
of course, man. That's important, brother. That's important.
Yeah.
And man, so something that I think the audience should also pick up on that you mentioned that's really important is, we're going to get into what you're doing now and all that other good stuff, but you got your business, you got, you're coaching people, you're speaking around the world. But you made it very clear that you put your kids and your wife first, and you make sure that you stay present and spend time with your family, as busy as life gets. How important is that to your success?
It's everything, Joe. And the reason why is because most times in life you'll meet a guy who's crushing it. He can preach the paint off the walls, kill it in his faith, but he's overweight, right? Like, so you look at him and you listen to what he's saying and it sounds good, but then you look at his life based on the results of the way he's showing up, and you're like, there's a lack of discipline, right? Then you get a dude who's crushing it with his family, but he's broke. Then you get a guy who's in great shape, but his gym has become the god.
Mm.
You got a guy who's killing it financially. He's doing 9 figures a year, 10 figures a year in income. But then you ask him, like, hey, man, how do you get there? Like, he's like, oh, bro, you just got to grind. You got to grind all day, every day. You got to work 36 hours a day. Bro, it's only 24 hours in a day. How do you even do that? You know what I'm saying? And then you look at his life and it's like, this is his 10th marriage. Like, brothers, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, if you're going to get that advice, it's going to be polluted with the results that he has. So you can't sift out the good part without getting the bad either. So for me, it's critically important to have all four, right? And people talk about work-life balance. I believe that is hogwash. And the reason why is because as you start growing, as you get older, as you get kids, life happens, bro. You don't have life starts speeding up. It's kind of like Tetris. You play Tetris and you got the little blocks and they start going in. It's like real, and then that thing starts going, like that's how life happens.
Right.
So people ask us all the time, like, how do you do it or y'all are still in great shape. Your wife looks amazing. Like how? And I'm like, we don't believe in the balance, the work-life balance. We believe in priorities.
That's right.
So what we do is we schedule the priorities in the order that I talked about of God, spouse, children, then your work, and then everything else comes after that, right? Your purpose and all that. And when you prioritize it in that order, now you have capacity because you've taken the most important thing and kept it the most important thing, which is the most important thing.
Man, that's good. That's so good, man. Thank you for sharing that because it's so important to have those priorities in order and make sure they're in the order that is going to be suited for you in your life. And man, I love that, brother. Man, I'd love for you to tell the audience, where they can find you and what you're doing now, bro.
Yeah, man. So you can hook me up on Instagram under Coach Mondo, Mondoe. And love you to follow me, connect with me on there, man. I'm talking about a lot of stuff that I do. I'm with an organization right now called Rise Up Kings. We're a Christian personal development company, and we have business leaders from all over the country, some even from around the world. We've had a billionaire come through, lots of business owners, 7, 8, 9 figures that come through, and they really want to go to the next level. So we provide 3 days and 4-day experiences to help transform men to show up and be the men that God's called them to be in their faith, family, fitness, and finance. So I'm a head coach for that. And man, outside of that, man, I am honored to be a husband and a father and make a difference in people's lives. So I believe that God has called me to inspire leaders to be transformed and set free to fulfill their God-given destiny. And I heard it said that if you want to go change the world, go home and love your family.
Mm,
So yeah,
mm.
that's how I
Man,
show up.
my man's taking him to church today, boy. Taking him to church. Drop them jewels, baby. Drop them jewels. Mondo, man, there's a few questions that I ask all my guests. The
Sure.
first is, what does the word purpose mean to you?
I'll give you an acronym. Pain undeniably reveals purpose over something euphoric.
Drop
So
that again, brother. Drop that again, man.
yeah. So purpose to me is pain undeniably reveals purpose over something euphoric. And
Ugh.
the application is if you were to do an inventory of your life and look back over the course of your life, there's been a few key moments where you've experienced some pain. And if your mind and heart is open to that, that pain taught you something. And if you could shift your perspective, that pain was actually a gift. So for me, one moment was my finger, and it shifted my mindset from basketball to football. Getting my ACL torn after getting to the league showed me that there was more to life and that I can make a bigger impact outside of the NFL. The enemy whispered in my ear and said, NFL for you means not for long. God said, no, it means newfound life. Now you about to
Woo!
step into
Come
your
on,
true
man.
destiny. Because I
Yeah.
don't need the NFL to get my name known. All I need is a willing vessel. So he opened me up and then took me to 30 countries around the world. I've been to 40 countries in my life. NFL can't do that. Only
Right.
God can.
That's
But it was
right.
the pain that opened that door. So I'm here to encourage you when you think about purpose in your life. For those of you who are listening to this or watching it, look at your life and just try to find 3 to 5 moments of pain in your life, and then ask God to show you the lesson in it. And if you're able to do that, that will lead you to your purpose.
Man, love that. Love that, man. And for the audience and viewers out there, people checking it out on YouTube, drop in the chat, man. Just drop at least one piece of pain that you have that you could have God turn into purpose for you, man. That's awesome, bro. And what does the word reforge mean to you?
Yeah. So it's 2 words here. So means to do again, and forge is to be refined, to be cultivated. So for me, when you think about life and going back to this theme of pain, if we're open to the thought that pain can reveal purpose, just like touching a hot stove teaches you not to touch fire,
Hmm.
right? You learn. Then if you look back at your life and you think about the moments that were highs and now any lows that you may be experiencing, my question is, are you open to look at the pain of your life and let that be a catalyst to change? And if so, then that could be the opportunity for you to be forged again, to be cultivated again, to be developed and crafted and hand designed again to be a better version of yourself than you were in the past.
Yeah.
So when I think about being reforged, I think about becoming a new being. And let me give you this example, man. This illustration is coming up for me right now. So the perfect illustration that I'm thinking about as you asked me this question, Joe, is thinking about an eagle. Eagles were meant to fly. They were meant to soar at new heights that most people can never imagine. And I believe that an eagle goes through a reforging process when it turns 40. So when an eagle turns 40 years old, it goes into a place by itself and it finds a mountain where there's nothing, no predators, nothing that it has to worry about. And that eagle's beak has now become downcast. Okay. It's ineffective for the eagle to hunt. That eagle's talons are not as sharp as they were. The feathers of that eagle have become matted and it can't fly the way it used to fly. So this eagle had to make a decision because it's at a point now where it's going to die if it continues on the track that it's on. So those that choose a different path and be reforged, literally that eagle will literally take his beak and beat it up against a rock until his beak comes off. And then once the beak grows back, it grows back brand new. It takes that beak and it takes those talons and plucks the talons out. And now the talons grow back. And then when the talons and the beak grow back, it takes the beak and the talons and it plucks out all the feathers on his body. And the feathers grow back brand new. And now that eagle literally is reforged and it goes and lives a brand new life. It'll live to be another 40 plus years old.
Man,
But if it doesn't do that, that eagle will die. And for everybody watching this right now, I believe you have an opportunity through listening to this content, connecting with my boy Joe here to be reforged. So I encourage you to plug in, listen to this so that you can spread your wings and you can fly. Because now's your time to do it.
Woo, dropping the jewels, man. Listen, man, I'm already an Eagles fan. Now you gave me a whole new respect for Eagles, man. Man. Mondo, what's one thing that the audience doesn't know about you that you enjoy doing for fun?
Pickleball.
Me
That's
too.
my new, bro. I am like, listen, man, I am a pickleball snob, bro. Like I got my own paddle. I started a pickleball club. Like we meet up every week. Like, dude, I am all into some pickleball right now. So that's one thing you may not know.
Man, I'm into it too, man. I got a whole crew at the gym that I play with. I got my own paddle. Yeah, I can be a pickleball snob too, brother. I feel you on that, man.
Yeah.
So one last question before we jump off, man. There's somebody out there right now who's looking to reforge their life. And whether it's in their business, their finances, their health, their relationship, and they don't have the tools, they don't have the know-how. What's one piece of advice you could give somebody that's looking to reforge their life?
Yeah, so what I would say is there's two things. I know you said one piece of advice, but it's a twofold answer. So the first thing is get some time away, just like that eagle, where you can get away from the distractions of social media, whatever you're binging on that's not feeding you, something that's going to develop you and cultivate you. Get away from all the distractions, cut those things off. And then I would say if you can't get away for like a 3-day or a week or a month to do like a little sabbatical, what I would say is, man, just take like, even if it's just an afternoon or even a lunch break, like you can't get away at all for like a half a day. Take a full lunch break and go sit in a place in nature with your creator in his creation and ask him why he created you. Bring a journal and just ask God to speak to you, and then just begin to write and begin to journal. And some of those thoughts maybe your own at first and maybe like, I don't know if I hear God. And there may be a lot of thoughts around that, but here's what I want to encourage you to do. Journal what comes up for you. Put it in writing so that you can objectively see it without the distractions of your emotions or whatever's happening in your life. And then after that, number 2 is look at and do a friendship inventory. And what that means is there are studies that show when you're around someone who's better than you, you will be 15% better in your performance just by being around someone better than you. And if you're around someone that's worse than you, then you're going to be 30% ineffective just by being around someone who's worse than you. So find people in your life that are living the results that you're looking for, and then connect with them authentically so that they can help you level up and you can be reforged into the man or woman that you were designed to be.
Man, that's good because this is so real, man. I mean, there's something that happens and you connect with that higher source, right? It's just, and then to write down those thoughts on paper, something powerful comes from that. And it's like working in harmony with your creator and co-creating your life. And man, it's so important. And then hanging out with the people around you that inspire you, man. That's why you hang out with people who inspire you. You're going to be inspired to do more with your life. Mondo, man, thank you so much, brother, for coming through, man. I knew that we were going to blow the hinges off, man, but man, the expectations were exceeded, bro. I couldn't even think that was possible, man. I really appreciate you coming through, man. I'm grateful for this, man.
Hey, so honored to be on the show. And Joe, if I could say this, hey man, if you're listening to this, man, I encourage you to share it with somebody. Like, subscribe, share, follow, because Joe is an amazing human. He and I had a chance to hang out at the Great American Speak Off out in Florida just a couple of years ago, man. Really impressed with his fire and his story and his passion. So Joe, again, thank you so much, brother, for having me on the show. Honored to be here.
Man, thank you so much, brother. Honored to have you on. And for all the viewers and listeners, thank y'all for listening, checking it out, man. And like Mondo just said, man, I'm going to ask for the favor I always ask. LFSS, like, follow, subscribe, and most importantly, share, because there's somebody out there today that's might be looking to reforge their life and they're not watching the episode. They don't have access to it. And you sharing the episode could help them reforge their life, whether it's in their business, their finances, their health, their relationships, whatever it is, you could save somebody's life, man. So please share and stay productive, stay profitable, and stay blessed, y'all.
You've been listening to Reforge Your Life with your host, Joe Rivera. Make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. To learn more about Joe Rivera and how he can help you or your organization reforge your life and regain your place at the top, head on over to withjoerivera.com and follow Joe on all social platforms. The Reforge Your Life podcast was produced by Thrive Loud Productions. Thanks for listening.